Hey guys, what's going on? Porter from Roll for New GM. Today we're going to go through some battle map creation in this program called Flowscape. I've been messing with it a little bit over the last few weeks. It's an interesting program to say the least. It's very powerful. You can create some pretty awesome things. You can get some cool screenshots. And today I'm going to show you how to make a battle map out of it that you can use and import into your virtual tabletops or print off or however you want to do it. So Flowscape you can find in Steam. It's only $14.99, so it's a pretty cheap program, pretty powerful for the price. And it's just you can create your own nature scenes simply by painting. You can choose from 20 landscapes, more than 300 models to create your own little paradise. And we're gonna go through. We're gonna show you some of the different some of the different ways that you can create your own battle map. I'm not going to go through every single little thing because there is a lot to this program. So it's more of it just you got to kind of play with things and get the sizes right, kind of play with the lighting, which I think is probably the biggest thing about Flowscape is you can get some really cool lighting effects. You can kind of play with the fog, but I think the lighting is probably what sets us apart. I think it's just super powerful in that capacity. So when you load it up, it automatically generates this little piece of land. It's always random. So this one I got kind of like a ruin thing in a forest desert kind of setting. So just to show you, it'll come up with this little pop up. You can stay here, clear. They have YouTube tutorials that you can go through. So I'm just gonna create a new seed so you can kind of see it as it generates. So it starts with the grass, it's throwing in some rocks, flowers, there's some bushes and trees. So we got some like snow effect in here, which is pretty interesting. You can move around. They do have animal models. They have some basic animations on them. So this guy will kind of look up, look look around, back and forth, see what's going on. But that's about all he does. He's not like he's gonna run back and forth or do anything like that. So he kind of hangs out there. Um, so we're gonna zoom back out. So right off the bat, let's say you wanted to use this, like it just generated, and you're like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I'm gonna try to use that for a battle map. So the reason that I'm kind of off from the corner right now is so I can show you this. So if you just go up to the little home icon up here and click on that, and there's a little thing called map. And then down here, you're going to see this little map maker. If you click on ortho, you can see you get a straight top down screen. And the cool thing about Flowscape is they've thought about us. They've thought about the tabletop players. So you can actually add a grid, you can add a hex, and you can change a lot of the settings for this. So if you wanted to make it a huge map, so this one's make it like 40 squares. That's a pretty decent sized map. You could change the opacity on the grid. You can make it, really stand out. You can make it really faint. And then when you go to export, if you just wanted to use this and thought, yeah, that looks exactly what I want, you can export them right here. You can do up to 4K or 8K, I guess. But obviously, that's going to create a very big file. Some virtual tabletops may not be able to handle that. I know, for example, on Roll20, you're not going to be able to upload that unless I think maybe you're a subscriber. So if you're just free to play on Roll20 and you try to import a 8K map, it's not going to work. So another cool thing, so if you got your map, right, and you want to do a handout or you wanted something like that to show your players kind of where you're at. Oh, there's some little wolves over here. But if you wanted some kind of cool little map, you could drop down, press spacebar. You could take a couple screenshots or something and just be like, this is what you see when you enter the forest. This is about the only purpose I could see for having this kind of view is just basically a handout, kind of show your players what they would see. And if you wanted to, you could add, some light effects in the background, add some clouds, dusk. They have all sorts of different backgrounds, and so that one almost kind of fits. There you go. It's a mountain scene. And then you can toggle it, change it to where you want it, lock it in. Okay. So I think the first thing, we'll kind of start from the bottom up. So if at the bottom you have a little screenshot thing, take a picture, easy peasy. Send it to your players. This is for different audio. If you wanted to add music, if you wanted a different kind of theme to it, you could add audio to it. This is probably the biggest thing if you're going to be using Flowscape a lot. If you click on this, you can change everything from the aperture, the focus distance you can change in and out. The bloom, you can make it really bright. You have add a vignette around the outside, change the saturation, make it really bright. You could do an interesting, I kind of like this, you could do like a black and white. So I've actually thought about using this in like a murder investigation. I think would be kind of cool. And make it black and white, and then maybe add in some blood that's red and stuff that stands out, kind of make it like a noir kind of thing. And of course you can make it really bright. So you can change everything that you could in a camera. It's fun to play with. But in the capacity of creating a map, which is kind of the purpose of why we're here, it doesn't add a whole lot. So I don't know. You can kind of play with it if you want. Not something that I really use, but you definitely could. Another thing is go up here with the sun and the moon. You can change the direction of the sun. This is what I was talking about with the light and the shadows. You can really play with this. Get a certain time of day with it. Add the height of the sun so it's very bright. Add it so the sun's kind of setting. And this is what I was talking about with the lighting. You can get some really cool God rays and really get a cool kind of sunset effect. But in the capacity of creating, a Dungeons and Dragons map, I think this is probably just a lot of I don't want to say it's wasted, but it's not a lot of practical use. Like I said, you could take a screenshot of this, send it to your players, and you enter the forest around dusk. The sun's just going down. It's peeking through the trees and everything. But as far as creating a map, once you go to the ortho mode, you're still going to kind of get that same look that you had before. So in that capacity, I don't think it's super useful. But I do like that they thought about tabletop players when they made this, so you could make a map. So then if we play with this a little bit, I've created a couple of different scenes. I might still have, so if we go to load, so I was creating a couple different ones I was playing with. Something I was doing here that I thought is kind of interesting is when my players when my players load into Roll20, I have a scene that's just a background. I have some cutouts of their characters, and it's just kind of a home screen for them. I might put up, like what day it is or what the weather's like, whatever quest they're currently on. Just some basic information. I come from a long line of online MMORPGs, and so I just think of like the character select screen, and that's kind of how I use that for my D&D campaign. Is I kind of have like a character select screen for my players, and so I just thought this would make an interesting kind of view. So I took a screenshot of this. I cut out some of their players that they had created, pasted it in there, and kind of made it look like this was their campsite. I put one in the background that was fighting that skelly. And just kind of an interesting way that I found a way to use this ability that Flowscape offers. So, if you just, play with it a little bit, think outside the box. So this was all, I was working on a mountain over there. You can see a dragon. But all of this was flat, and you can actually go in, create hills, create mountains. You can add lakes and water. And actually the water looks really nice. I like the particle effects and everything and the reflection. So it's a very powerful program that's not hard to use. I mean, all of this stuff you can just basically drag and drop. And so I'll kind of go through those in just a second. Like I said, moving up from like where you choose the sun effects and all that thing. They have some different backgrounds, some different skies that you can use. You can go through these, whatever kind of fits your thing. That's a cool effect. Whatever kind of fits the map that you're making, you can probably find it here. You can also go into the water. You can add different waves, the wind speed, the foam reflection, everything like that. And then, of course, moving up, you've got animals, you've got different creatures. So if you click on this dragon, and what's interesting is it's not just a dragon. This is something that I didn't realize right off the bat. If you click on this monster icon, use your mouse wheel, they have different, that's really cool. They have different monsters that you can cycle through, and they've got trolls, skellies, I forget, treants, whatever they are, dragons, a couple different dragons, a flying dragon. They've got some cool different effects and motions that they do. So again, if you go through each one of these, let's click on this rhino, see what they have. There's a big rhino. You got lions. You've got hippos. So there's a bunch of different, you can make some birds kind of hover around. That's kind of cool. But again, like I said, if you're just making a map, a lot of this is gonna kind of go to waste. So it's just kind of an interesting tool. If you wanted to play with it, you could. And if you go to the select tool, you can move it on the X, Y, and Z axes. You can rotate it how you want. You can stretch it, make it a different size. So there's a lot of different options in these selections. So if we get rid of that, go up, probably a big one that a lot of you would use is the houses or the different buildings. So I'm going to scale this down so you guys can kind of see it better. Alt, scroll wheel, shift scroll wheel to rotate, alt scroll wheel to scale. So you can see here, it's kind of a little cottage. You can cycle through a lot of different buildings, shacks, everything that they have. There's some towers. And the cool part is all of these are pretty connectable. So if you wanted that, cycle back, you can kind of add this in there. Like so. You can kind of make it into one building. And they have a lot of different styles. They have, some little tables, crates, barrels, flowers, flower pots. They have a lot of different little, there's paintings and stuff. Kind of rotate that. Actually, let's move this up a little bit so we can look at it. Yeah, that's cool. Little painting that you could put on the wall. Let's see some different styles. Here's some outdoor kind of stuff. They have fire, animated fire, docks, platforms, stairs, hay barrels, bales, everything that you could probably use and need is in these. The tough part is just going to be kind of cycling through all of these to kind of find what you want. And of course, you could kind of, just go with it. Whatever you land on, you land on. But there's a lot of different tools in here, as you can see. And this is pretty cool too. But at the same time, it's not, because if you're making a battle map, it's going to be tough. So if you, throw in some of these buildings, they're not just modeled on the outside. They actually have full interiors, which is really cool. And that's where a lot of those decoration things come in at. You can actually go in here and decorate. So if you wanted some of those, paintings and tables and stools and chairs and everything, you could put them in here. But again, at the same point, if you go here and you make a map, you're just going to see the top of it. You're not going to get the full effect of completely decorating everything. So that's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. But you, like I said, you could make, take some screenshots, say this is what you see, or if you're coming up on this tower, this is what the enemies can see. They can kind of see through this slit. They see you coming from so far away. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And I love it for that. I can see why somebody made it. I think it was more, for just a creative person. If they like to color and paint or do whatever, they can kind of build. It's kind of, just like Legos. But I think the map thing was probably more of an afterthought. And here you've got, stone structures, rocks, everything. You can cycle through all these as well. The biggest thing is just you're going to want to go through all of these and see what you would want to use. Here's a big mountain that you could add in the background if you wanted. Put that way out there. Kind of looks like it's in the back. More flowers and everything. Bushes, trees, all different kinds of trees. And then, of course, an eraser tool if you don't like something. We've all done something and we look at it, we're like, ooh, I wish I didn't do that. And just erase it. So I think if you wanted to, you could go into a lot of little detail with mushrooms and rocks and bushes and trees. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, what are you going to see from the battle map aspect of it? Like I said, I think that probably the best idea that I've had is just kind of that opening loading screen for the players. So if they get on roll 20 before me, or if I have, if I'm going over last session with them, they are kind of on the screen with their characters, and they can kind of look at, what day and time it is, or what they had going on last session. So it's just, it's a cool tool. It's a lot of fun to play around with. It's something that I've enjoyed using. You can see here, this was a little map I was working on. I think I actually was going to use this as a battle map. I think I had prepared something for it. So as you can see here, I added, a little trail. This is supposed to have water in it. There is water in it. It's very clear, so we might change that in the settings. I think it was called, I think it's Fresnel. Yep, Fresnel. Changes the kind of reflection and color of the water. Up here, when you're creating stuff, you can of course paint, different textures and everything. Nothing here is set in stone. I would go through everything with you guys, but that'd probably be another video. This is more just kind of an overall, like, how you could use it, and if you wanted to play with it, you could. I might do, like a video where I created this, just to kind of go through really start to finish, and the different effects and everything you can add. So the idea that I had here was I would kind of take a screenshot, maybe like right here, and I was going to add a background and everything. And just kind of tell everybody that, like, you come up on this encampment outside of town. There's still a fire burning. The smoke is rising through the air. And then I was going to go through and add an encounter for them. And you can see that a lot of the work and stuff to get it looking good is kind of lost once you add, the overall view, the aerial view. Because you're working with all these 3D assets, you're working with reflection, you're working with light and smoke and different effects. And when you're looking at it from an aerial view for a battle map, adding a grid, I just think a lot of that's lost. And so that's kind of why I was starting with Flowscape, because maps and world creation and stuff like that is something I really want to get deep into, that I've spent a lot of time doing in different programs. Flowscape was one of the newer ones, and I just don't know if it'd be worth it. And that hurts to say, because I really enjoy the program. I really enjoyed making this map. I really enjoy the light effects and the models and everything that has been used. But at the end of the day, I think I could have spent 5 minutes in Incarnate and created this same map. Obviously, it's not going to have the same color and effects to it and everything, but what am I really losing? Am I really willing to put that much time into something like this when I could just make a simpler, quicker version of it? And the players aren't going to know about the 3D models anyway. So at the end of the day, I just don't know if Flowscape is worth it for battle map creation. I just feel like the time invested into it to create, even just a basic map like this, it probably took me at least half an hour of cycling through the different assets, finding what I wanted, painting the terrain, pushing down and making the lake, adding the bridge in the walkway so it fit together, dropping in trees, bushes, grass, and even the effect of the smoke. It's going to get lost in that screenshot that I take. So I think at the end of the day, I'm going to focus more on web-based things like Incarnate, and even GIMP, stuff like that, because this just doesn't feel worth it. I think it's a fun, cool program. I think it's something that I'll play with once in a while. Maybe I'll throw in a map from it, or maybe some screenshots of the 3D angle to really play with the lighting effect and everything, but I just can't see it as a viable everyday option for map creation. I just don't think it's worth it. Of course, if this is something that you enjoy doing and the time investment into it doesn't really bother you, then go for it if that's how you want to do it. And I think you could probably take, probably a screen recording of this if you really wanted to capture those events, and then throw that into your virtual tabletop. But even then, I don't know if it's worth it. So it's only $14.99. This is just more of kind of a general review and what you can do with it. If you want to see kind of a full map creation and how I went about creating this little area, definitely let me know. I'll do that. But I think I may throw my focus more into, like I said, Incarnate and stuff like that, and creating interesting different things there. But overall, it's an enjoyable program. If you want to try it, definitely try it. But I just don't think I'll be using this in my day-to-day planning for Dungeons and Dragons. It seems like too much of a time commitment. So let me know if you've used Flowscape before, if you really enjoyed it, if you still use it. I know there's a huge Reddit following that posts a lot of their battle maps and images and stuff on there. So I think I'll probably drop that link in the description below, because people have created some really cool things. But it's just, for me, I don't know if it's worth it. So that's kind of my overall take of Flowscape. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next week.